All right, let's get right into it. There's a huge mystery at the center of a nation in crisis. You know, the most powerful man in Iran, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, he's dead. But for weeks now, there's been this one basic question that nobody can seem to answer. Where is his body?
44 days. Just let that sink in. It's been 44 days since the Iranian regime officially said, yes, our leader is dead. And in all that time, absolutely nothing. No public funeral, no word on a burial site, no grave. And look, this isn't just some minor scheduling issue. This is a massive break from one of the most sacred, fundamental rules in Islam.
And we're not talking about a simple custom here. This is a core religious obligation. And get this, for decades, the Islamic Republic has been ruthless about enforcing this 24-hour rule on the families of its own victims. So for the regime to turn around and just ignore it for their own supreme leader, yeah, that tells you something is very, very wrong.
So, let's just lay out the facts so we're all on the same page. Ali Khamenei, along with his wife, his daughter, and a few other family members, was killed in a military strike. The government's own media confirmed his death back on March 1st. So there's really no doubt he's gone. The real mystery isn't if he's dead, it's what in the world happened after.
Now, to really get why this is such a huge deal, you've got to understand what a supreme leader's funeral actually means in Iran. It's so much more than just a ceremony. It's really a cornerstone of the regime's power. It's how they project legitimacy, not just to their own people, but to the entire world. And the contrast with the last time this happened, wow, it is just night and day. I mean, when the founder of the Republic, Ayatollah Khamenei, died back in '89, his funeral was one of the biggest in human history. We're talking 8 million people, a sea of mourners flooding Tehran. It was this massive show of strength. And Khamenei, total opposite. Just silence, delays, and an empty space where a leader should be.
And it's not like they didn't have a plan. Oh, they had a huge plan. We're talking 40 days of national mourning, a 3-day public viewing in Tehran, and then a burial at the absolute most sacred shrine in the entire country. They were expecting millions. They even put up billboards. And then, just nothing. The whole thing, postponed indefinitely. Poof, gone.
All right, so let's get to the heart of it. Why? Why would a regime that's all about religious duty and huge public shows of force suddenly just ditch its most important rituals? Well, the answer seems to boil down to this really toxic combination of 3 things: fear, internal fracture, and a really, really dark irony.
I mean, it's the question, right? Why this crazy, unprecedented delay? Why can't the Islamic Republic, a state built on religious law, bury its own supreme leader?
Okay, so let's break this down. There are basically 3 big reasons, and they all feed into each other. First, there's the fear of an attack. Second, a deeply fractured government. And third, the kind of bitter irony that you just can't make up. All right, part 1, fear. This one's pretty straightforward, honestly. It comes down to pure, raw fear. Think about it. A state funeral for Khamenei would bring the entire leadership of Iran into one place at one time. The new supreme leader, the president, all the top military commanders, everyone. It would be like painting a giant bullseye on the whole government. And this wasn't just some vague threat they were worried about. No, Israel's defense minister came right out and said it, publicly and very clearly. This quote here basically put a price on the head of any new leader and, any event where they might show up. And the proof of just how scared they are is, well, it's pretty stunning. So when it came time for the traditional 40th day mourning ceremony, where do you think they held it? In a Christian church. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The memorial for the top leader of a Shia Islamic theocracy held in a church. Why? Probably because they thought it was the one place they wouldn't get attacked.
And you can bet this wasn't lost on the Iranian people. This comment from someone on social media just captures the sheer humiliation of it all perfectly. It's a regime so terrified of one group that it's hiding out with another. Just incredible.
But look, it's not just about fear from outside enemies. That brings us to part 2, fracture. The government itself is broken. A huge state funeral, that's not just a security nightmare, it's a massive political operation. You need everyone on board, total unity. And the new leadership, run by Khamenei's son, Mojtaba, they just don't have that kind of authority. See, the new supreme leader's grip on power is shaky, to say the least. This guy, Mojtaba Khamenei,
has zero formal religious standing. He's never held any kind of public office. He wasn't chosen because the clerics agreed on him. He was basically installed by the military and security guys. He just can't command the respect or loyalty you'd need to organize something this massive.
And that leads us to the third reason. And man, this one is just dripping with dark, poetic irony. For years, for decades really, this very same regime has used the denial of a proper burial as a weapon. It's how they've punished protesters, dissidents, and their families.
This comment from an Iranian citizen really says it all, doesn't it? All the cruelty the regime dished out for years, stopping families from holding funerals, even demanding money for the bodies, harassing mourners, all of that has come home to roost. It's come right back to them. The man who oversaw all of that now can't even get a public burial himself.
So when you step back and look at all this, what does it really mean? Well, this whole failure to bury their leader isn't just some logistical hiccup. It's a massive symptom of a much deeper disease. It's a sign that the very foundations of the regime are starting to crumble.
When you put all the pieces together, the picture that emerges is pretty damning. What you're seeing is a regime with a leader nobody really sees as legitimate, a government that's totally paralyzed by fear, not just of its enemies, but of its own people. It's a state so broken it can't even perform one of its most basic, most sacred duties, burying its own leader.
And that right there is the real takeaway. Forget all the conspiracy theories about Khamenei secretly being alive. That's not the point. This delay isn't evidence that the man is alive. It's chilling evidence that the regime, as a functional, legitimate government, is already politically dead.
Which really just leaves us with one final, lingering question. A regime that can't even bury its own leader, how in the world can it possibly lead its people?